So today's assignment is about reviewing solving equations. And we're going to start with some easier ones and move into some harder ones that you may have seen on that quiz, which was really, really hard. So we're going to work some problems and you can go at your own pace. My expectation is that you will write down each problem on your paper, pause the video, try and solve it, and then unpause the video when you either have an answer or you are just stuck and don't know where to go. Again, my expectation is you'll write down the problem, pause the video, and try and solve it. And you'll start the video when either you A, have an answer and need to check it, or B, don't know where to start and need to use the video. You can pause or rewind the video at any time. All right, our first equation is 8x minus 4 equals 12. And that means 8 times some number I don't know minus 4 gives me 12. So if I think about it like the picture, here I have my negative 4 chips. And so in order to make the 0 pairs, I add 4 chips. Okay? We can kind of also think about that as subtraction and addition are inverse operations. They're the opposite operations, and they undo each other. So I can take whatever number's right here, at 4, and put it here, and the opposite operation of this is subtraction, so I put addition, and that will cancel out this piece right here. Minus 4 plus 4, that cancels that out, and now I just have 8x on this side. What I do to one side, I have to do to the other, and since I added 4 on the left, I have to add 4 on the right. 12 plus 4 is 16. So 8 times some number gives me 16. Well, now I can divide both of those by 8. I'm making 8 little groups like we do in our pictures. Okay, I'm again dividing by this number, that coefficient right in front of the x, so that this becomes my coefficient of 1, and I just have x. So then I do 16 divided by 8 gives me 2, and that's my answer. You can also see right here, this right here kind of looks like a fraction 16 over 8, and if I simplify it, I get 2 over 1, which is 2. So I can think about this division problem kind of as a fraction, or this fraction kind of as a division problem. All right, so let's look at the next problem, problem 2. Negative 6 times some number I don't know minus 13 gives me 83. And as you can see, our variable is a k rather than an x, and that's okay. You're going to start seeing lots of different letters. It means the same thing. It's some number I don't know. That's why there's a letter in its place. I'm going to start with this piece right here, and I'm going to think about it. The number's 13, so I'm going to write the 13 below it. And since this is subtraction, I'm going to write the inverse operation, which is addition. Okay? And again, you can see it's like I'm making my 0 pairs, so they cancel out, and my negative 6k is all that's left on the left side. Well, if I add 13 on the left, I have to add 13 on the right. 3 plus 3 is 6. 8 plus 1 is 9. So negative 6 times some number I don't know is equal to 96. Now I need to divide both sides by negative 6. And since there's a negative in front of the negative 6, I have to divide by it as well, because I again want that coefficient of 1. I want whatever is up here in front of that k, I need to divide by it down here so that I get that coefficient of 1. I'm left with just k. So I'm doing 96 divided by negative 6. So I don't know what that is. So 96 is my top number. That goes in my house. 6 goes outside. 6 goes into 9 one time. 1 times 6 is 6. So I subtract. 9 minus 6 is 3. Bring down my next 6. 6 goes into 36 6 times. 6 times 6 is 36. And I subtract, and I have 0. So my answer is 16. Okay? But look, I'm dealing with a positive Okay, positive and a negative. My signs are different, so my answer must be negative. The answer is K is equal to negative 16. All right, next problem. 10 minus some number is equal to 2. All right, and you're probably already saying, oh, wait, I know. 10 minus 8 is equal to 2. Well, let's check that out, okay? So I'm going to start with, I need to get all my numbers on one side. So this right here is a positive 10, and so I can write the same number and the opposite operation. This is a positive, so I could add those 10 negative chips, okay? 10 minus 10, that cancels out, and I'm left with just this piece, that negative x. But what I do on the left, I have to do on the right, so minus 10. So 2 minus 10. Well, let's think about that. My signs are different. I have a positive 2 and a negative 10. Since my signs are different, I take the difference. So 10 minus 2 is 8. 8. And then which of the two numbers is bigger? 10 as a number is bigger than 2 as a number. So since 10 was negative, my answer was negative. So negative x is equal to negative 8. Okay? And then I can multiply both sides by negative 1. Because if I do that, if I multiply both sides by negative 1, a negative times a negative is a positive. And so 1 times x is still x. But my signs are the same, negative and negative. So now my answer is positive, so now I have x. So the same thing over here. 8 times 1 is 8. My signs are the same, so now my answer is positive. So I get x equals 8. And we already said we knew that from 10 minus 8 is equal to 2. If at any point you feel like I'm going too fast or you need to hear what I'm saying again, you can rewind the video. That's what's nice about the videos is you're in control. Okay. Again, my expectation is that you're writing the problem and pausing the video to solve the problem and only restarting the video when you either A, have an answer and need to check it, or B, are lost and don't know where to start. So then you watch the first step, pause, and see if you can do the second step. All right, let's look at this next one. This is x divided by 5. Remember, this means divide. So some number I don't know, x, divided by 5 plus 7 is going to give me 11. Again, I'm going to start with my constants, and I can write whatever number's right here, right underneath it, my 7. And since I'm adding, I do the opposite, which is subtraction. Sorry, I'm having minor difficulties. All right. So positive 7 minus 7, that's 0. So I'm left now with x divided by 5. And what I do to one side, I do to the other. So 11 minus 7 is equal to 4. So now I have some number divided by 5 equals 4. So I need to think about some number divided by 5 gives me 4. Well, can't I find that number if I multiply 4 by 5? Because that number divided by 5 would give me 4. So I can multiply both sides by 5. Okay? And this also works because if you think about up here, we talked about inverse operations. Division and multiplication are inverse operations, so they cancel each other out. So 5 times x divided by 5, that's like saying I have 5x divided by 5. And we already know that this now can give me that coefficient of 1 with just x. And 4 times 5 is 20. And let's think about that. 20 divided by 5, that does give me 4. So that's my answer. So x is equal to 20. I can even go back in and check up in my original equation. 20 divided by 5 plus 7. Well, 20 divided by 5 is 4 plus 7 equals 11. Yep, I got it. Let's look at our next problem. Oh, I see a decimal. I don't know about this one. Well, let's try. 334.77 equals 26.98 plus 5r. All right, well, the first thing I need to do is I need to get all my numbers on one side. So this is a number, so I'm going to need to subtract it. So it's a positive, so I'm going to need to do the opposite, which is subtraction, and write the number underneath. So that all cancels out, and I'm left with 5r on this side, which means I need to subtract 26.98 on this side. And I can do that. I can subtract decimals. I just need to remember to line up my dot, and that's just what I did right here. Okay, I just need to do a little borrowing. So 17 minus 8 is 9. 16 minus 9 is 7. 13 minus 6 is 7. And 2 minus 2 is 0. So I'm left with $7.79. And I can think about, well, $34.77 is close to $35. And 26 is close to $27. And if I do that math, I get $8, and 7.79 is close to $8. So I know I did my math right, because that was a lot of borrowing. All right, so now I have 5 times some number gives me 7.79. I can divide both sides by 5. Okay, so this gives me that coefficient of 1, so I have an r. So now I just need to divide 7.79 divided by 5. And look, there's no decimals in my outside number, so I don't have to worry about moving the decimal at all. I just have to make sure that my decimal travels up, and then my answer is right above where it is in that number in the house. So 5 goes into 7 one time. 1 times 5 is 5. I subtract and I get 2. Bring down the next number, which is 7. 5 goes into 27 5 times. 5 times 5 is 25. Now I subtract, I get 2. I bring down my next number, which is 9. 5 goes into 29 5 times, because 5 times 5 is 25. I'm left with 4. So I'm going to add a 0 down here. Bring down my 0. 5 goes into 48 times. 8 times 5 is 40. So now I'm left with a remainder of 0. Remember, behind the decimal, I can add as many zeros as I want in order to get an answer. Okay, so I could always add zeros at the end. So whenever I don't have a remainder of 0, I can always add zeros behind that decimal to get my answer. So here's my answer. R is equal to 1.558. And that wasn't that bad, because I didn't have to remember about moving the decimal or anything like that. All right, that's it for the first video. Check out the second one.